There are moments in life when the world seems to bend toward one man, as if gravity itself has chosen a favorite. There he stands in eyeliner and worn boots, moving through a storm of voices that chant his name with religious insistence. Johnny, Johnny, Johnny. The air is thick with devotion. People reach out to him with trembling hands, as if touching him might make their lives less ordinary. He smiles in that crooked way, shy yet magnetic. A boy hiding behind the mask of a pirate king. For years he lived inside that light. Not the spotlight of duty, but something like belonging. People didn't simply watch him, they believed in him. Johnny Depp, the misfit genius, the lovable outlaw, the modern child of Chaplin and Keith Richards. He could not walk a street without the world rising to meet him. Yet the higher the adoration climbs, the farther the fall waits. One night, years later, the noise is gone. No chants, no cameras, just a room that feels too large for one man. A cigarette burns slowly between his fingers. The air feels stale, like a stage abandoned after the final act. In front of him lies a newspaper. Ordinary ink on ordinary paper. Yet it might as well be a guillotine. His name stands beside two words that do not belong to him. Words that feel like poison carved into stone. Wife beater. Not whispered, not alleged, declared. He stares, numb, as if language itself has betrayed him. Is this what it feels like for a soul to be evicted from its own body? To watch as the world rewrites your identity in bold capital letters? He does not weep. He just breathes, shallow and disbelieving. How does a man process that he has become a monster overnight? Not because of evidence, but convenience. Not because he was tried, but because he was printed. He thinks of the millions who once cheered for him. Where are they now? Or do people secretly love watching gods fall? Because it reassures them that greatness is temporary. He crushes the cigarette in an ashtray, but feels nothing. Silence is suddenly violent. A silence louder than any crowd he ever walked through. It is the silence of abandonment, of someone discovering that adoration was never love, merely appetite. This is not scandal. This is erasure. And as he sits in that room staring at his public execution, something ancient in him stirs. The boy who learned long ago that suffering does not shout. It folds inward and hides. Long before the red carpets, long before pirate ships, there was a boy living in a cramped Kentucky house that always felt too small for the storms inside it. His mother was not simply harsh. She was the weather, unpredictable, scorching, destructive. There were days her voice was thunder. On others, she was a hurricane in human skin, hurling ashtrays against walls, breaking objects because something inside her was already shattered. Johnny learned early that sound meant danger. Footsteps approaching were not comfort. They were a warning. He could sense her mood before she spoke, a tightening in the air, a shadow over her eyes. Children have only two weapons, hiding or pleasing. Johnny chose both. His sister once remarked that he had an uncanny ability to disappear in plain sight. He could make himself small enough that anger passed over him like wind over an empty field. But survival had strange rituals. After the slap, after the thrown object, after the tears he wasn't allowed to shed, he would kneel on the carpet, reach for her feet, and rub them. This was not worship. This was negotiation. A child offering peace to the person who hurt him most. Some children learn love from smiles. Johnny learned it from forgiveness, from service, from enduring. He internalized a truth no child should ever swallow. Love is something you earn by suffering quietly. His father tried to endure too, but one day the weight crushed him. He packed his things and walked out the door without looking back. Johnny watched him go without screaming. He learned again what silence costs. His mother crumbled, and in her collapse, Johnny felt something twisted. Responsibility. He comforted the woman who broke him. Because who else would? That day, the boy disappeared. He became the caretaker of the person who hurt him. He became a mirror that absorbed pain instead of reflecting it. Years later, people would call him gentle, kind, too forgiving. They didn't know it wasn't kindness, it was conditioning. The world applauded him for being patient, but the truth was sharper. He had never learned how to defend himself, only to endure. When Amber Heard entered his life, she didn't feel foreign. She felt familiar. She was beautiful, intense, intoxicating, volatile in ways he recognized but didn't name. To Johnny, chaos was not fear. It was home. He thought he had found passion. He had found repetition. The fights began small, sharp words, sudden shifts, but familiar wounds don't scare us. They seduce us. We mistake them for destiny. By the time they reached Australia in 2015, something inside their marriage was already rotting. The rented house was luxurious but lonely. Grandeur means nothing when the walls echo with dread. They were meant to be filming, yet the real drama played out inside. Shouting, slamming doors, smashed objects. There were vodka bottles, too many, and each argument seemed to end in fragments. Johnny was cornered, verbally and emotionally, and decades of learned passivity told him to absorb it. But chaos feeds on silence. Then came the bottle. Thrown, shattered. Pain like lightning through flesh. Confusion before blood. He looked down, stunned, at the stump where his fingertip should be. Shock is not loud. It is eerily calm. He used his own blood to write on walls and mirrors, not because he was mad, but because he needed someone, anyone, to see him. A broken child locked in a man's body crying out the only way he knew how, through symbols, through ruin. Later, headlines would call it madness. But madness has clarity. This was grief made visible. His wound was not just physical, it was ancestral, a reenactment of childhood. Offering devotion to someone who hurt him and hoping it earned peace. It didn't. Instead, it became ammunition against him. Hollywood does not need truth to pass judgment. It needs convenience. In 2018, Disney severed ties with Johnny Depp. No courtroom, no trial, just a decision. Quiet, curated, corporate. He had given the world Captain Jack Sparrow, a character stitched from his soul, his rebellion, his humor, his fragility. Jack was not a role, he was a refuge. In costume, he visited children in hospitals unannounced because he believed magic only mattered if it was personal. The world didn't know those visits mattered more to him than any box office record. So when Disney took Jack away, it wasn't just a firing. They amputated the part of him that still belonged to innocence. He wasn't screamed at or escorted out. He was erased, politely, efficiently, cruelly. Once adored, he was now assumed guilty. A global monster, unworthy of belief, unworthy of work, unworthy of compassion. He sat alone again. The way boys sit after their fathers walk out. The way men sit when careers are stripped, not broken, just bewildered. The world insisted his story was over. But truth has patience, and reputations, like buried bones, eventually rise.